Bookworms, welcome to the Weekend Readers Book Club. Thank you for joining us. In this episode, we are discussing the debut novel by Jack Carr, that is The Terminal List. So, The Terminal List is a Amazon Prime, I believe, miniseries or TV series, but I read the book because I had it in my hot little hands. As I said last episode, I thought it was something completely different. Read the back blurb and was like, oh, okay, it's not what I expected, but I'm down with it. So in this book, The Terminal List, we follow, the main character is James Reese, right? He's a Navy SEAL. He is overseas, his platoon gets blown up, and he's the only one to survive. Then he comes back to the States, but when he comes back to the States, his wife and his kids have been murdered, and James Reese is going to try and figure out what the hell is going on because he feels he's being targeted. And then he finds out that he is being targeted, and the people that are targeting him are the US government and some other shady bigwigs within the political and financial atmosphere, and they're trying to eliminate him, but he's gone, nah, you killed my family, you killed my platoon squad, I'm going to kill you all. Then he makes a hit list, and it goes on, and the whole book is about him getting revenge. This book was wild. Like, I understand why, like, as a debut novel, why it got so much acclaim as it did. It took you, in my opinion, right into the situations where you're like right there with James Reese. He's explaining what's going on. You're putting 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4 together because it's a thriller, but it's a whodunit thriller, but it's an action thriller because James Reese is going to basically become the Punisher and just go on a rampage and, serve his family and his platoon justice. And it's wild. Like, from where we start to where we finish, holy crap. And the opening chapter is awesome, to be honest, because the opening chapter throws you right in the action, and then it sets a scene. Then we go back in time a little bit. We get the origin story of, the platoon overseas. Then we get James Reese coming back to the United States, and then we're good to go once he comes back to the United States. We're full throttle to the very end. It was crazy. In the book as well, James Reese, he's the good guy, and he's the main character. He has a few supporting characters that are good as well. There are the other supporting characters in the book that are the bad people, but throughout the book you hear from James Reese in relation to what he's trying to do, but then you also hear from the bad people on what they're trying to do and why, and then, it all sort of intertwines throughout the story until the great finale at the end. I will say that the ending of this book, the main ending in relation to the action portion, I enjoyed. The main ending on how the book ends in relation to James Reese's character, I get it. I get why they did it, but I'm still sort of like, The main ending in relation to the actual last chapter of the book sets up what then becomes, I believe, the James Reese or the Terminal List series, as Jack Carr has made a sequel to this book, and by a review it looks like James Reese is the main character of the second book possibly, but he has then carried that on to do 4 or 5 additional books in the Terminal List series. So it's sort of the ending, like the final chapter of the book was really well done because it's a clawback to something that you're thinking about, but you don't get closure in the main story end part. But yet when that final chapter plays, you're like, oh, okay, cool. We've read the final chapter, we're taking that on board. What happens next? And that was a great way to leave it. And I guess that's part of the reason why we ended up then getting the additional books for the Terminal List series. Will I be going out of my way to read the rest of the books in the Terminal List series? Probably not. I think if I find on chance book 2 at the book fairs that I go to secondhand, I might pick it up and give it a whirl, but I don't think I'm necessarily going to go out of my way to read the next book. But with that being said, I thoroughly enjoyed the Terminal List. It was right up there. The closest book I have read and have got a book on my bookshelf similar to this would be Andy McNabb's Red Notice, where it's a similar structure. Army guy has to, take vengeance for something, and you follow along as Army guy takes vengeance, and you just wait to see what the outcome is, and you follow along the chaos as you go along. So it was really, really enjoyable, this book. So the question will be, will the Terminal List by Jack Carr be going onto my bookshelf? The answer is, while I completely love this book, I'm not going to keep it. So it hasn't made my bookshelf. Now, there's nothing bad about the book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I feel with the twists and turns that go into this book and the chaos that entails, especially with James Reese's character, I've read it once. I'm probably not going to go back to reread it. However, would I highly recommend it to somebody that hasn't actually read it, that's into, say, action, thriller, whodunit, army people on revenge because the government has screwed them over and they're going to take back what's theirs to, because it's the right moral thing to do? Hell yes, I would. So, as a customs here with the Weekend Readers Book Club, as one book closes, another book has to open, and it is now time to find out what the next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club is. And Bookworms, we can confirm that the next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I may have mispronounced that surname. Now, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, at this stage, I'm only going to read book 1. I'm reading this book because my son's reading it, and I'm interested to see how it is, because it's actually holding my son's attention and he's really invested in it. So I'm going to give it a whirl and then quiz him at the end to see if he actually took on board what was being read. So, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, you are the next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club. So Bookworms, that was my review and discussion today of The Terminal List by Jack Carr, Jack Carr's debut novel and book 1 of the Terminal List series. A book I thoroughly enjoyed, a book that I would highly recommend, a book that stage is set from chapter 1 and we action and go all the way through. A book I really enjoyed. Unfortunately, I wouldn't reread again, but a book that I'm happy that I have actually experienced and sat down and taken on board. So Bookworms, thank you for listening, and until next time when we discuss Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, happy reading.